There's a woman in the Bible who was completely out of options. No money, she didn't have any food, she just had debt collectors at her door. And God's first reaction was not to just immediately provide for her, but he told her to go collect empty containers, as many as she could find, because God was choosing to fill what she had the capacity to receive. Hi, I'm Felicia, and on my channel, I document what it looks like to surrender an ambitious life to God and let Him lead it. Today, I want to talk about something that started as a physical thing for me, but has become one of the most spiritual lessons that I have learned in a while, and it is that God oftentimes does not fill a cluttered container. I absolutely love a clean and organized space. My home, my car, anywhere that I'm spending my time, I want it neat and clear, and I want it cluttered free. But I have not always been this way. In high school and in college, my car was an absolute mess. I had multiple outfits. I had textbooks thrown everywhere, random papers everywhere. And it was never dirty. Like, I didn't have just food all over the place, but it was just always cluttered. And what I realized later is that it wasn't random. It was almost always a direct reflection of whatever was going on in my mind at the time. So when my mind was cluttered, then my space was cluttered. And when I finally cleaned it up, my mind felt clear. I felt good. I loved how it felt, but I just really struggled to be consistent about keeping it that way. And I think a lot of people, are living in that right now without even realizing it. I believe that your space isn't just a reflection of where your mind is, and it might also be blocking what God is trying to bring into your life. So let's rewind back to the woman in 2 Kings chapter 4 from the beginning. She didn't just get one jar of oil. She got as much oil as she had empty containers for. The moment, the last container was full, then at that point it stopped. Not because God ran out, but because she didn't have the capacity to receive anymore. And if you haven't read that story, go back and read it in its entirety. But that story just really made me think, what if that's how it works for us too? What if God knocked on your door and said, however many empty closets you have, however much empty space you have, that is what I'm going to fill with things that will bless you, or maybe even bless other people through you. And, now you're just running around, you're trying to clear out your closet real quick, trying to make room, you're rushing, picking clothes up off the floor. And if that would be you in that situation, just leave a thumbs up in the comments and let me know. But that visual just really got me because, I want to be someone who is already prepared for the opportunity, someone who is just already ready for whatever it is that God has for me at any given moment, and not someone who is just scrambling when it shows up. And I've even just started to see this, play out in my own life of me just being prepared and already having the space and the capacity for whatever it is that God is wanting to bless me with. So right before I became a godparent, something in me just started to just want to start clearing space. I started organizing, I set up a prayer closet, and I even had started purchasing, different baby items. And not because I knew that anything was coming, but I was just believing God for a child of my own and just wanting to be ready. And then very shortly after that, I became a godparent. And I actually really needed that space. My goddaughter, she had a bassinet here. She had a stroller. She had a dresser with all her stuff. And because I had already made room, I wasn't just running around scrambling at the last minute. And everything, when I needed for her, it was just right there exactly when I needed it because I was prepared. And same thing happened before my husband and I became foster parents. I had gotten just a lot more intentional about my mornings and my time, my space, and then the call came. And I needed every single bit of that groundedness and the physical space, and I was able to have it because I had already started clearing things out and being intentional. And I'm not saying that, clean spaces earns us things from God, but I do believe that just preparing ourselves for what he has by making room physically and mentally, emotionally, so that when he moves, we're ready to receive it. I think that is important. And it's also not just about our homes, because the most cluttered spaces oftentimes are the ones that we cannot see. So think about, what are you holding on to right now that has nothing to do with your physical space? It could be old feelings that still weigh you down, or resentment that you just haven't let go of, or maybe it's frustration towards people or situations that you're still carrying around. Like, that's cluttered too. And it takes up space that God could be wanting to fill with things like peace and with joy, with kindness, with clarity, and just with all of the things that you maybe even have been praying and asking him for, but there's not enough room because it's already full. So the question isn't just, what do I need to clean out of my closet? It's, what do I need to clean out of my heart and out of my mind so that God actually has somewhere to pour into? Because I know I personally wear a lot of hats, a lot of us do. And to be able to show up well in all of those roles, I know that I need to be operating at my best. And it is very hard to do that when everything around us and everything inside is cluttered. So now I want to just talk about, what does it actually look like to start making room? For me, it's just looked like the small things first. So quick tidies throughout the day, a quick reset before bed, and even just stuff as simple as taking mine and my husband's shoes from downstairs and bringing them back up at the end of the night and putting them in the closet where they belong. Just little systems that keep the clutter from building up in the first place. And lately, I've just really been wanting to do like a complete rehaul. So first the small things, and then now I'm ready to move on to the big things. I want to go room by room and just only keep the things that I truly love and that I'm actually using or that I actually need. And I'm the type of person who, I have no problem letting go of unnecessary, like, physical things. So I'll trash stuff or I'll donate it depending on, what it is in a heartbeat, because I just don't like having a lot of excess. And I've just noticed this about myself, even with stuff like shoes or purses. If I buy something that, I really like, I'll just keep wearing that same purse over and over, even if I have others. So at some point, I just started asking myself, like, why do I need to hold on to these excess things if I'm not even really using them? And when I start to just accumulate things, even things that I like, if I'm not using it and if it's just taking up space, then it just starts to irritate me. So I think that feeling is intentional. I just feel like it's God reminding me to just stay clear and to stay ready and to just not need to have all of this excess, and not because the goal is to just, not have anything, but because I want to be able to just have the capacity. So if you're watching this and your space is cluttered, or maybe your mind is cluttered, your heart is still holding on to things that you need to let go of, then maybe that's the starting point. It's not this big dramatic overhaul, but it's just one space. It's that one thing that you need to release, and then just see, what God does with the room that you just made. So let me know in the comments, is it your physical space you're working on, your mental space, emotional, or just something else that needs clearing out right now? I would love to hear. But if you enjoyed this video and you want to go deeper on similar topics that are related to faith and just what it actually looks like to walk with God in your everyday life, I have a playlist called Heart to Heart that I will link in the description. And if you're not subscribed yet, I would love for you to join me on this journey. I post new videos every week, so I just want to invite you to subscribe if this feels aligned with you. And as always, thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.